Jesus said the harvest is ready, but the workers are few. And we have to figure out how to bring the youth into the church or bring the church to them.
We're continuing our discussion with some young men at Northern California Retreat Center in the Redwoods, having a great time. Here's the question I want to give to these young men. Do you believe that the church is relevant for the younger generation?
I think this question is really interesting, especially for my generation, because in the 21st century, we have more technology than has ever been imagined. In the last 15 years, we can carry around a mobile device that is connected to the World Wide Web, and we can learn basically anything we want. However, there's a moral disconnect that a lot of people feel, especially in 2015, and that is I have everything I could possibly want. I have everything I need, but they're missing something. And the church has always been there throughout the years to provide that something that we're missing. And I feel that the youth generation, they're ready to come to church, but they feel that church won't welcome them. And I really feel that, like Jesus said, the harvest is ready, but the workers are few. And we have to figure out how to bring the youth into the church or bring the church to them.
Yeah, I think actually where we were looking at starting the college group, and I think that's part of the reason why we were looking at it, is because we saw a big disconnect between our generation and the older generation, and even some of the younger kids that are coming up. And we just really wanted to bridge that. And it is important to have older mentors in that group, because we haven't seen it all. We've seen we have a very short lifespan. We haven't seen what's coming. You guys have. So while it's important to have our peers bringing each other into the church and going out and bringing people in, it's also really important to have older mentors that are willing to come and meet us where we're at and just talk to us and help us work through some of the things that we don't know how to deal with, but you've already kind of experienced and dealt with.
And I've always loved young people, and so to me, I'd rather hang out with young people than a bunch of old people, to be honest with you.
So this is kind of tricky though, because you're asking both groups to kind of step out of their comfort zone. Because you can't just expect the adults to all of a sudden give up what they like doing and do what young people do, because they're not going to do it naturally. They're like, this is so foreign to me. Why am I doing this? And you can't expect of course you can't expect the young people to do what the older people do as well. So I think there has to be some halfway point where we can find just an activity, just start it off with some activity that both generations like doing, like a sport or something. Just use that as a starting point, and from then on, strike up some conversations. Maybe have one of the older people bring up pop culture, like something from pop culture, and then they can discuss the biblical relevance behind it, and that can get the youth to start talking, and and it's just, you got to find that halfway point, and I think once you do, it'll be a lot easier for them to bridge the gap.
Sounds to me like what we're talking about is melding the generations and not eliminating them. And I think we owe it to these young men and young women to step in and serve them. And we'll take a moment and talk about what that looks like on the next segment.